What's going on, guys? It's Unknown Player here, and today we've been taking an in-depth look at the Plaguelands and going over a bunch of the secrets in the area, some of the fragments you can pick up, some of the weird enemy items, and generally some of the cool and new stuff you'll find around the place. So when I went to Gamescom and recorded a bunch of Rise of Iron gameplay, we of course got to play the new strike, as you've seen, and of course the strike does take place in the Plaguelands, which is packed full of little secrets to find. So on like our third or fourth run, we decided to actually not rush through the strike and take a look at the area we were in. The buildings would normally just walk straight past, and generally look at the Plaguelands. Obviously we didn't just go wandering away from the actual strike, it was all within the actual path of where we're supposed to go and the buildings in that area. But this video is going to be packed with a bunch of cool things you'll find in this new zone. So let's begin with looking at what appears to be the new calcified fragments in the Plaguelands. It's at the top of this kind of like watchtower room with all these computers. Behind one of the screens is a Dormant Siva cluster attached. You can hear this kind of buzzing noise, it's like hissing, and that will tell you there's one of these Siva clusters in the area. So picking it up is going to give you this legendary Dormant Siva cluster item. It doesn't go into your inventory, so you can't read it or inspect it, just the same as calcified fragments. And Game Informer said there aren't quite as many of these to collect as calcified fragments. There's still quite a lot to find around the Plaguelands. You know, some of them are required for a part of the new Yellowhorn quest line, and I'd imagine you get probably some kind of exotic or reward for collecting all of the Dormant Siva clusters. Maybe get this pulse rifle. It does look kind of similar, so maybe it's involved, or it could be the raid exotic. But I'm sure that some kind of exotic or cool reward is linked to these Dormant Siva clusters. So there we have it. That is one of the many collectibles you can find in the area. And of course, when they found it on the reveal stream, that wasn't an accident. That means there is a Dormant Siva cluster in the Divide somewhere. That's kind of two locations we know of so far. Now, I may or may not have actually found a dead ghost shell as well. That was also in this strike area. So I'm not allowed to show you exactly where it is, and I agree it's probably best that we discover this by ourselves than the DLC launches. But in case you're wondering, yes, there are dead ghost shells in the Plaguelands as well with Grimoire attached, in addition to the Siva clusters to find. So another thing that I saw was this Devil Splicer's version of the Skiff Fallen ship, which is pretty cool to see. It's basically as you'd expect, but with Siva stuff all over it. And the main cannon now also does that red Siva solar damage as well, as opposed to the arc damage it used to do. So you can add that to the list of the many Devil Splicer weapons that do solar damage, but the shock mines it drops are still arc, those really annoying ones that can one-hit you. But it was pretty cool to see a Splicer ship and how it was designed. So here we have a laser protected door behind one of the main areas of the strike that we played. It was in the building just next to it. And behind appears to be another Plaguelands area with this massive cannon over there. And the radar also showed a chest is out there too. So to the left there was this interface where you can use a Splicer key to unlock the lasers, which is pretty cool. Obviously we didn't have a Splicer key, so we couldn't unlock it. I actually already know where you can find one of those. So I spotted this during Game Informer's videos. During the Sepic's Perfected strike, someone finds a Splicer key in the kill feed there. So they either drop randomly from enemies, or there's a chest in the room where you can get the keys to drop. So once you get a Splicer key, you're able to unlock the lasers and explore this area. And if you try and go through them, as More Console demonstrates perfectly, it will just kill you. So there's that. So one of the more subtle things you'll find in the Plaguelands are these mini flying shanks, which are pretty cool. And you can see what they look like up close, just kind of flying around and sometimes eating away at some metal. They won't shoot you or interact with you or be hostile, but you can kill them if you want. And they let out this really weird like scream once you kill them. I spotted one that flew really far away on this bridge and actually sniped it, and I managed to kill it. I don't know, I thought it was something really cool that you can interact with it, and especially how far away it was, you can still hit it. So you'll see them like way off in the distance or like really high up in the sky. So you can snipe at them if you want, or do some target practice on them. That's a pretty cool bit of the environment. So on the bridge were a bunch of these green flaming mines. They look like they're from the Hive maybe, but they'll trap you if you run past them, or take you off your Sparrow if you try and drive over them. So if you get trapped, the way to get out is basically look down and shoot at them, and the flames will kind of release you. And they actually respawn as well, so if you give it enough time, the green flames will pop back up and be ready to trap you again. So that's another thing you'll find. It was also really cool to look at the scenery and the stuff in the general area, like you can see all the spikes on the side of the bridge. In the distance, you'll see that pod that's taken off the colony ship, which is now on fire. And that pod, of course, is now being used as the raid entrance, which is pretty cool by the Devil Splicers. As usual, the skybox looks absolutely amazing, and this shot of the landscape just looks really cool in that typical Bungie fashion. They always do an amazing job on the scenery aspects. There's also this kind of like pile of Siva, which you'll see almost everywhere. They're very kind of strange objects, which we stopped to take a look at. Those kind of pulsating red vines. And there's one part which looked like this little red eye behind some glass. Siva's just a very weird thing to look at. It's like this giant kind of virus plant thing mixed with like electronics. There's a really cool design to it, and it's cool to see this stuff absolutely everywhere all over the Plaguelands. In the distance, you'll see this giant fallen fortress, which is where the Archon's Forge activity is located. I think that's more in the middle of the Plaguelands, and all the lava and Siva stuff gets really ramped up over there. The spot we're in right now is pretty similar to Old Russia, whereas the further you go into the Plaguelands, the more kind of twisted and evil it gets. And over there with that giant fortress is basically where all the Splicers are, and it's their main hub where they all originate from. So further into the strike, we can see this sort of new enemy or weapon, I guess, which are called the turrets, and they do massive damage to you. So if you do enough damage to them, you can actually disable them, but of course it's only for a short amount of time, and they'll ramp back up and start shooting at you again if you leave it long enough. I actually timed it looking back on the footage, and it takes 20 seconds for them to reactivate. So one thing that I thought of is that we might see these in the raid. I can imagine some kind of mechanic involving like a massive wall of turrets that do a load of damage to you. You need to do a bunch of other things and then disable turrets. And then you got a window of like 20 seconds to damage the boss before the turrets come back up again. Just something I thought of. It might not be in the raid, but something I thought of when I see the 20-second timer. And I can imagine someone counting down until how long the turrets are back up and how long you have to do damage, and then calling them out when they're alive again. But it's something pretty interesting I thought of, and I'd expect to see a lot more of these for sure. And the final little thing I want to show you is these falling platforms, which are pretty funny. They basically put them in there to troll you, and if you step on them, they'll break and often fall, making you fall to your death, or in my case, they simply just crush you to death. I can't believe this happened. We literally just got into the boss room, ready to tackle the boss, and then boom, a platform lands on my head. So that's a thing. But there you go, a detailed look at the Plaguelands and a bunch of little things we can expect, little secrets and things you can find. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed the video, a like rating would be much appreciated. Got lots more Rise of Iron videos on the way, so stay tuned to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.